If Americans actually listened to the veterans that they claim to respect so much, their attitude would change. But the thing is, Americans want to honor the veterans in like a very cursory way, putting a yellow sticker on their car, having a little parade or welcome back. But they don't want to honor the veterans by really listening to what they have to say.
Have you ever read about the reasons they attacked us?
We were not attacked because of our actions.
They attack us because we've been over there.
They want to kill us because of who we are and what we stand for.
We're there, occupying their land. And if we think that we can do that and not have retaliation, we're kidding ourselves.
But that kind of isolationism, sir, is what caused World War II.
It's an extraordinary statement. As someone who lived through the attack of September 11, that we invited the attack.
I believe very sincerely that the CIA is correct when they teach and talk about blowback.
Blowback does not mean simply the unintended consequences of foreign operations. It means the unintended consequences of foreign operations that were deliberately kept secret from the American public, so that when the retaliation comes, the American public is not able to put it in context, to put cause and effect together, that they come up with questions like, why do they hate us? There is a direct connection between events that happened more than 50 years ago and the war in Iraq today. In 1953, the Prime Minister of Iran, Mohammad Mossadegh, became extremely irritated. The British were ripping off his country's national resources. He wanted a greater share in it. The British came to the new President Eisenhower and asked for help on this. Eisenhower very conveniently declared Mossadegh to be a communist, and we then set the CIA to overthrow him.
3 days of bloody rioting culminating in a military coup.
The result was we brought the Shah to power, and he created an extremely repressive regime that within 20 years had led to a revolution against him. The Ayatollah Khomeini creates a government that is violently anti-American.
For Americans shot up the hills. Khomeini said, quote, I pray to God to cut the hands off all those foreign advisors.
In the after-action report by the CIA on what they had done in Iran in 1953, they said, we're going to get some blowback from this. We then made a puppet out of Saddam Hussein in Iraq, who was a friend of ours. He was an asset in the CIA's computers. We did so because he was anti-Iranian. He was very fearful that the revolution in Iran would spread into his country. He therefore went to war with Iran. The war was extremely bloody, went on throughout the 1980s. Unfortunately for Saddam Hussein, he began to lose the war. At that point, in comes the United States in the form of Donald Rumsfeld, sent to Saddam Hussein by President Reagan to tell him, we will supply you with intelligence. We will supply you with the weapons you may need through covert means. It is why cynics in Washington say, we know Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. We have the receipts. This is what we mean by blowback. He remained a friend of ours right up to his invasion in the summer of 1990 of Kuwait. We became alarmed when he invaded Kuwait that he could also go on and invade Saudi Arabia itself. The largest reserves of oil on earth. We stationed troops in Saudi Arabia. It was a mistake in every sense of the term. Remember, Osama bin Laden had said, I resent the government of Saudi Arabia for using Americans to defend Saudi Arabia against Iraq. At that point, we began to fear that we were going to lose our position in Saudi Arabia. Well, the second largest source of proven reserves on earth are in Iraq. This leads us now to demonize our previous ally and to prepare the American public for the thought that we must take him out.
In the years preceding 9/11, Osama bin Laden was a young freedom fighter who promised American officials he'd help them to oust the Soviets from Afghanistan.
It wasn't long before the agency was secretly arming every Mujahideen volunteer in sight.
The American Stinger anti-aircraft missile, the weapon most credited with giving the Mujahideen an edge in the war.
Following the defeat of the Soviets and the fall of the Berlin Wall, capitalism was triumphant and communism was gone. But in 1991, when the United States invaded Iraq for the first time, we established military bases in a land revered by Islam.
Every suicide terrorist campaign since 1980 has had as its central objective to compel a democratic state to withdraw combat forces from territory that the terrorists prize.
This war is not against Americans because we're Americans. It's against it's motivated by the activities of our government and its allies in the Muslim world.
Furious at the American government for desecrating their lands, bin Laden and his maniacal associates began plans that would lead to the clash of civilizations that culminated in the tragic events of 9/11.
They don't come here to attack us because we're rich and we're free. They come and they attack us because we're over there.
Mossadegh was freely elected, okay? He served almost 2 years. We went in there and caused the demonstrations that led to his overthrow. Now the Iranians remember that, you know? They remember that.
Yes, there was blowback. The reaction to that was the taking of our hostages.
Most of the American people are totally unaware of what really goes on with our foreign policy and of the way we're irritating people. We're creating a lot of enemies around the world.
Maximum covert operations to block and disrupt the Iranian program, including taking out their scientists, including breaking up their systems, all of it covertly, all of it deniable.
Iran is a country that has been at war with us since 1979.
The senator is wrong on his history. We started it in 1953. The blowback came in 1979. It's been going on and on because we just plain don't mind our own business. That's our problem. $1.5 trillion overseas in wars that we don't need to be in, and we need to cut there, and then put this money back into our economy here.
We would profit from getting out of most of these places. The threats would actually recede because our very presence in many places is unwanted. Many of the nations that we've been protecting would have to invest the money to protect themselves.
I'm not a leftist. I'm a very conservative person. But I really do think we need to look at our actions. Actions promote reactions.
One of the really appealing things about Ron Paul is that he understands the importance of history. He understands the importance of seeing where you're coming from.
If we understood the way the world feels about us, I think we would change. We're very compassionate people.
We, as a group, now have a greater moral responsibility to act than those who live in ignorance. Once you become knowledgeable, you have an obligation to do something about it.
If Americans actually listened to the veterans that they claim to respect so much, their attitude would change. But the thing is, Americans want to honor the veterans in like a very cursory way, putting a yellow sticker on their car, having a little parade or welcome back. But they don't want to honor the veterans by really listening to what they have to say.
When I came back, after my first appointment in 2007, I was really excited to see this guy in the presidential debates by the name of Ron Paul. He talked about an idea called blowback, which was that our foreign policy has repercussions.
And it means a lot to go out and defend our country and make those sacrifices, and it's not something that should be taken lightly.
I support Ron Paul because I believe he's the only candidate with the fortitude to actually stand by the Constitution.
In 1999, my desire to defend the Constitution
and fight for my country motivated me to join the United States Army. In 2011, that same desire motivated me to leave the Army. And now that desire motivates me to support the only presidential candidate who will truly defend the Constitution.
When you sign up for the military and you sign the dotted line, you're there to defend America and the Constitution, and Ron Paul is the only person that's been doing that for a while now.
I support Ron Paul because he would take our troops out of harm's way.
We only have those rights that we are willing to defend. And I think Ron Paul understands that.
He has so many of us standing with him.
His calls to bring the troops home should be taken very seriously.
They can no longer use this rhetoric of support the troops, because what the troops are telling you, both in Iraq and those who return, is that they don't want any part of this. They want to come home.
Ron Paul will restore America. He will restore the Constitution. And he will truly support the troops by bringing them home to defend this country.
Our campaign got more money from the troops than all the other candidates put together.